So I'm just going to review very shortly some information about MS-related pain so you can have this. For some people it feels quite helpful to have information. Some pain in MS is neuropathic, meaning it's caused by damage to certain nerves. With spasticity, muscle spasms or cramps called flexor spasms can occur, and this causes discomfort. Pressure on the body caused by immobility, incorrect use of mobility aids, or the struggle to compensate for a gait can cause pain. Some pain medications can modify how the central nervous system reacts to pain. And with stress management, we are also modifying how our bodies will react to stress. So, let's look at stress and pain, a basic overview. Unregulated stress can cause inflammation. Inflammation can cause pain and discomfort. Stress can also cause sleep disturbance, and sleep disturbance can cause fatigue, and it puts more physical stress on the body, which can in turn cause pain. So let's go on to some coping strategies. Let's take a look at what we do with all of this stress. So there's three types of coping strategies, three big categories. One is avoidance, something that takes your mind off of it. One is instrumental, dealing with stress in a way that may do something about it, change something. And one is psychological, getting in touch with feelings about it, seeking support, something that will help you feel better. So let's talk about the avoidant type of coping strategy. It's one that we all know about. Now, with all coping strategies, there's a way it can be helpful or a way it may not be so helpful. So, avoidance, it's a wonderful coping strategy. It takes your mind off of it. You don't really want to be sitting around all the time thinking about something that stresses you or thinking about having MS. So avoiding it can relax or rejuvenate you. It can be like reading or listening to a book, watching a movie, playing with a pet, going outside and seeing something beautiful, learning something new, growing a plant, taking a nap, playing a game. There are so many different ways that you can take your mind off of it, and you may have some of your favorites that aren't even included in this list. But avoidance has a way that it can be not so helpful. When is avoidance not helpful? It's not helpful when you need to take action. You need to do something and you don't. You're avoiding it. When you're being like an ostrich, putting your head in the sand, but when you do that, the rest of you becomes very exposed and vulnerable. You're spending most of your day, most days, with entertainment that just essentially zones you out but doesn't really help. Just sitting and staring at television or something else. If you're isolating, if you're avoiding life, if you're not making important and necessary appointments, smoking is a way of avoiding it's not helpful, or drinking too much, overeating or undereating. Again, the zoning out for hours in front of the TV or computer. So many people use this, I wanted to put it in twice. You're withdrawing from friends or family or activities. You're overusing prescription medication. If you're using your pain medication to relax, or you're using illegal drugs to relax. If you're sleeping too much, taking a nap can be helpful, but if you're sleeping to avoid, if the opposite of that, if you're trying to fill up every minute of the day to avoid having feelings or to look at any problem, that's also not helpful. Let's look at instrumental. Instrumental coping strategies are coping by finding an answer. So what's a really good, helpful instrumental coping strategy? How about participating in this program? You're having some difficulties, so you do this. This is an instrumental coping strategy, something that will bring change. Learning to use an adaptive device, consulting with an expert, asking others how they've dealt with anything that might be stressing you. Researching online to find resources is a wonderful option. And learning new ways to do it, whatever it is. Finding a different way to do it. When is instrumental not so helpful? If you're spending hours and hours and hours most days trying to learn more about MS or whatever your stressor is, that's not helpful. And that can happen. You can go online and it's just endless. When you're putting pressure on yourself to find a way to be able to do it, and that's causing you more stress, exhausting yourself looking for answers, spending too much time focusing on an issue and spending so much time that it's really taken over your life. You're not having very much fun. Psychological. Psychological coping strategy is coping by recognizing you're having a hard time and essentially honoring your feelings. So helpful. Going to a healthy self-help group. I say healthy. What's a healthy self-help group? Where people are supporting each other and they're looking for ways to help, ways to support. They're looking for solutions. Not so healthy support self-help groups, people tend to try to stay stuck in a problem, and going there doesn't feel any better. Talking with someone supportive. Seeking psychotherapy, which is someone who's supportive, but the person's a professional and may have some techniques to help you also. Writing about it, journaling, is a wonderful way to put your feelings down. And experiencing your feelings, like crying or getting angry, but then just releasing it. Meditation and prayer are wonderful ways to be in touch with what you're feeling and release. And we'll be using some meditation tools. You'll be learning that later on. Not so helpful. If you're spending most days in tears or angry, that's time to get some help, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. If you're spending so much time focusing on a problem that you aren't seeking any solutions or looking for ways to make it easier, that's a problem. If you're hurting yourself in any way, causing physical harm to yourself or saying horrible things to yourself, that's making your hard time even harder. If you're spending so much time with this type of coping that it becomes avoidance, so you're spending so much time recognizing your feelings or writing about your feelings or praying or meditating with your feelings that you're avoiding the issue, then that's the extreme, then it's not so helpful. So as you can see, any of these, either way, is out of balance. And you need to be asking yourself, is this helping me? I'm looking for something that will help me lower my stress. So let's look at helpful coping skills. Learning when and how to say yes and when and how to say no is so important. Being realistic about how much you can do in an hour a day. Learning to be proud of yourself for doing what you can and then taking a break. Asking for help. It's a really helpful coping skill. Ask for help. If it's really difficult for you, if it's causing you too much stress, if you can't figure out how to do it, ask for help. Don't sweat the little things, as people say. Recognize when something really is a small thing that you can probably find a solution to, and when it's really big. And sometimes the smallest things can upset us the most. And that's okay. We get upset, but then just recognize, hey, in the scheme of my whole life, this is a small thing. And what can be really helpful is if you have a big thing to do or a big problem, try to break it down into smaller little things. And as people say, don't sweat the little things. So see if you can break it down to manageable tasks for yourself. Admitting when you're wrong or in over your head is a really helpful coping skill. And then if you're in over your head, ask for help. So sometimes we get so caught in, I said I would do it, I said I could do it, and then realizing, well, maybe I wasn't right about that. Maybe I can't do this on my own. I need to ask for help. So that leads to letting go of control. You need to ask yourself, if it doesn't get done or it doesn't get done my way, is someone going to die from this? If someone's not going to die, it might be important to think about letting go. If someone is going to die, definitely need to ask for help. But maybe you need to ask for help anyway. So let's look at some more helpful coping skills. As much as possible, avoid people that increase your stress. And you can use the stress log to help you figure this out. If you keep on having interactions with someone and afterwards you're putting negative, that person is causing you a lot of stress. Now, if that person is someone that you need to be in relationship with for whatever reason, that's when you get to use some of your stress reducers, your coping skills. But really evaluate if you need to be in this relationship, whatever the relationship is. How important is it? And you can also ask yourself, is there a way that I'm reacting too much to this particular person or situation, and I could make it easier for myself? So that brings us to really learning about what are stressful situations for you. What is stressful for one person isn't stressful for someone else. What might have been easy for you a month ago may cause you stress now. Or what caused you stress a month ago may feel a little bit easier now. So learn about these stressful situations. Avoid them if you need to avoid them, or adjust to them. And once again, your stress log can really help you learn about what's really and truly stressful for you. Don't do anything until it hurts. It's important to listen to your body and to yourself and to not push too hard. It's very important to push yourself just a little bit. Allow yourself to go a little bit outside of a comfort zone so you can maybe learn something. But you really want to be aware of when you're pushing too hard. It's important to voice your concerns in a healthy way and to actually voice them. Instead of resenting things or blowing up, holding them in, be willing to talk about it and be willing to compromise, even with yourself. Even with the part of yourself that says, we're going to do it this way, be willing to compromise even with yourself. Learn how to budget and manage your time and energy. Your energy, it's important to budget just as much as it's important to budget money. And the National MS Society has quite a bit of information available to you about fatigue management and energy budgeting. But fatiguing yourself is very stressful, and it causes emotional stress trying to push yourself beyond what you can do. If all else fails, if you've tried everything else and nothing else is working, then it's time to adapt to the situation and adjust your attitude.